Do you know what? There's no such thing as a dumb subject. Looking back, I reckon school can be a bit weird. When I was there, everyone said subjects like physics and chemistry and maths C were the big important subjects, while subjects like design tech and drama and home ec and art, those were the easy ones. Those were the ones that didn't matter as much. Those were the dumb ones. Now this is absolutely and totally incorrect, because if you're anything like me, you're going to spend your free time overseeing the production of a series of animated science videos that could nicely be described as self-indulgent. Actually, I mean, if you're anything like me, you're going to spend a significant part of your adult life wishing you were more skilled with a saw or were a better cook or had the language skills to connect with people and communicate more good. And this isn't even a STEM thing, because among the sciences, a lot of people seem to think that biology is the dumb one, which is a total shame. Because right now, biology is absolutely smashing it. Like seriously, if you think about some of the big problems we're facing, like climate change, disease, and growing enough food to feed everyone, biology is right out the front in developing new solutions. And hey, I'm not a religious guy, but even I have to admit that taking on 2 of the 4 horsemen is pretty impressive. So yeah, right now, biology is totally crushing it. And I reckon a significant chunk of these successes can be attributed to the big ideas that tie biology together. In fact, it kind of makes me feel a bit sad for people doing physics, because they haven't quite been able to do this yet. Like, Einstein spent decades trying to unify general relativity and general magnetism without much luck. But in biology, we've had our unified theory for about 80 years. We call it the modern synthesis. The modern synthesis was formed by combining the areas of genetics and evolution. Evolution showed us that a species could change over time, and genetics provided the mechanism for how it's actually done. And while we could talk about the significance of viewing evolution as a change in allele frequency, I don't think the animators would be super happy if this was 4 hours long. So, in short, let's just say that the modern synthesis gave us a lens to better understand the natural world. And while this was going on, we started making these big discoveries that were in line with this view of the world. We figured out that DNA was the molecule responsible for passing along genetic information, which meant genes were an actual thing and not some hypothetical construct. This might not sound like a big deal, but it's kind of like only discovering that planets were real in 1944. We then figured out the structure of DNA, which provided insights into how DNA was copied when a cell divides, and later, how mRNA is made. We then figured out how to read the language of DNA, and by reading similar bits of DNA across lots of different species, we could see that all life on our planet was connected, and not on some kind of hippy-dippy sort of way, but in a all life uses the same code sort of way. And by looking at how this code has changed, we can see how our species has evolved and how other species have evolved from one another. And with a little bit of fandangling, we were able to find the specific bits of DNA that were being activated at specific time points. And with these methods, we were able to find the specific genes that were being activated in development. And by untangling them, we could find the signals that transformed a single cell into a complex human being made up of hundreds of trillions of different cells all working together. I think it's amazing. So yeah, there's all this cool stuff happening in biology. As far as I'm concerned, the only thing to keep in mind is that there's also some really weird stuff out there. Like, why did these salmon parasites lose their mitochondria? And why do some head lice have multiple mitochondrial chromosomes? And why haven't we come up with a better way to describe the mitochondria than the powerhouse of the cell? This weird stuff all makes perfect sense in a way, because evolution doesn't always go in straight lines. It doesn't care what a common sense solution to a problem might be. The only thing that's important to evolution is if a solution helps your gene survive. And sometimes what works is a bit complex and weird. I think Elizabeth Blackburn, everyone's favourite Tasmanian Nobel Prize winner, said it best when she said,
"Biology sometimes reveals its fundamental principles through what may seem at first to be arcane and bizarre."
While I think some people might not be able to appreciate these arcane and bizarre processes, I still think people writing off biology as a dumb science are missing out. Because biology isn't just about solving the big problems or discussing the weird solutions that life has selected to solve them. It's also about asking the big questions. Like, where did we come from? What makes us us? And why are monotremes so underrated? And even though I think biology is super interesting, you shouldn't go out there and make fun of people who are passionate about things that don't have a grand unified theory. Because intellectual elitism just sucks. For me, one of the most important things about science is how we can use our hard-won knowledge to solve problems. And it's tempting to think that after we've had our big eureka moment, our solutions to these problems will immediately be adopted by the wider world. But things don't work like that. In order to take our solutions and bring them into the real world, we need help from people with lots of different skills. We need to make sure that our solutions can actually be built, and then built at scale. And once they have been built, we need to communicate with people to make sure that they understand why it's important that they want to use them. If we're going to solve the big problems, we're going to need help from people with a lot of different skills, some of which aren't developed in a biology classroom. So maybe don't be a jerk to people with different interests to you or doing different subjects from you, because we're going to need a huge range of skills to solve the big problems. Actually, no, scratch that. That's a terrible message. We shouldn't just be nice to people on the off chance they might be able to help us down the track. We should just respect that everyone is passionate about different things. Because the only dumb thing I've spoken about is intellectual elitism.
In your video, you said that physics didn't have a grand unified theory. But what about string theory or M theory? Brains sounds like brains. You're into biology, that should be enough for you. And actually, in your video, you...
Yes! Comment, dislike, engage, trick YouTube into sharing this message far and wide.